stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You'd remain standing for a moment, please. Of course, keep in mind, keep in your thoughts this week, not only our officers as we come off of National Police Week, but also all of our first responders in the city, and of course with Memorial Day right around the corner, please keep our veterans in your thoughts. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the outpouring of good weather for our grand opening. We thank you for the residents of this fine city who came out not only to support the city and the new station, but above all, support our boys in blue as they continue to protect and serve. Lord, give us the strength tonight to do your will and make decisions which will reflect what is best for all residents of Pataskala. Bless us all tonight, and we ask for this in your holy name. Amen. Okay, Kathy, roll please.
Carter. Here. Walter. Powell.
Here.
Barstow.
Here.
Hayes.
Here.
Hagan.
Here.
Lee.
Here. Okay, we have a quorum present. First thing on the agenda tonight is citizens' comments, but before we get to those, we have a very special announcement. Chris, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Anything else you'll come up here? So, Mayor, council members, I'd like to introduce our new billing clerk, Danielle McGee. She was the unanimous decision out of the 79 applicants that we reviewed. She's got a business degree in English from Ohio State, which is not great for a Michigan fan like me, but it's still give her the spot. So, but she's been doing really good. She's been there for a week now, fitting in really well, catching on to the job really well, and we're just happy to have her on board.
Great.
Got the department back to full staff. Said you prepared a speech for them? No, I'm just kidding.
How was your first week on the job? You tell us.
I enjoyed it.
Yep.
It was fast-paced at first, but I'm starting to pick it up.
She started 2 days before due date, so
There
it
you
was
go.
a great way to bring her right in and get things ready. So
2 days before.
yeah, it was a trial by fire. So
Very
Pretty good for working for a Michigan fan.
yeah.
We can shoot it back.
Well, I didn't tell anybody at first. So.
Well,
But thanks.
Carly, we made
congratulations. We're glad you're here. Thank you. You can go home now. I'm serious. You don't have to stay for
Seriously,
that.
you're good. Good to meet you.
You get a free pass.
Have a good evening.
All right, good
Thank
night. All right, citizens' comments. Anybody wish to speak tonight?
Thank you, Mayor.
I need your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Okay. I am Grace Franklin. I live at 11465 Cable Road. I've lived in Pataskala for 20 years. I hope to make another 20. And I've served on a lot of commissions under previous mayors, Mayor Baird, Mayor Steve Butcher, with charter review, zoning, fiscal, and comprehensive plan. I'm a big fan of our comprehensive plan and also of our income tax, which I worked really hard for. I'm here, though, to talk about our police force. Right after the opening of the station, it's a nice segue. I'm concerned that the pace of population growth and the pace of our patrol growth is not equal. When I worked on the comp plan 1998 with Mayor Baird, we cited there were 19 full-time officers in 1998. I counted up the names on the website today. There were 19.5 names, not counting you. That's zero growth, but our population has grown over 50% since 2000. You guys know all this. We have the largest geographic area in central Ohio, square miles for patrol officers to cover, compared to Pickerington, 11 square miles. They've got 11 officers. Heath has 11 square miles. They've got 18 officers. Westerville has 12.6 square miles. How many officers do they have? 76. Yeah. Closer to town, Marysville, 37 officers, 16.6. You know all of that. Yeah. So we got 19 officers, 28.7 square miles, and over 15,000 people. My concern, your concern, are all of us know more growth is coming. We got Morse Road, we got Beach Road, we got Eaton Parkway, we got New Albany. We need more officers. And I have another concern, and that's turnover. I don't have any statistics on this, I just have a gut feeling. When I worked on the comp plan in the early 2000s, and we talked about how Pataskala is a training ground for police officers. They come in, they get hired out of the academy, they stay a few years, they leave. Turnover. It's hard to build a core of experienced, long-term officers, I think. I don't have data, I'm just thinking. So my question is, are salaries competitive to attract and retain officers? And if they're not, how do we compare to other cities? And the bottom line question is, what is the will of the city council? I think that we should and can all get behind this issue. I hope we can find consensus for all of the parties involved. I think that the citizens in Pataskala, we got a little flavor of it with the opening on Saturday. I think our citizens will support a tax increase or some kind of an increase that's earmarked for the police department. I think that when we are presented with objective data, clear data, nonpartisan data, when we're comparing to other cities, that people are going to come to the obvious conclusion. We have to retain and build our police force. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Oh, and for what it's worth, both Westerville and Reynoldsburg have their annual reports for the police departments on their website. I think that's a really cool way to educate the public.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else wish to speak tonight?
Gary Sunderman, 652 Monticello Court, Pataskala. This is in regard to ordinance 2019-4337. As residents of Pataskala and Harrison Township, we elect and depend on our representatives to oversee and protect our communities and to guide the welfare and growth in a manner which reflects the voice of the people, the voters, the taxpayers, the consumers, those with a vested interest in our community. Accordingly, Ordinance 2019-4337 seeks to assure the harmony of existing communities in the general vicinity of the parcel in question. The communities have voiced their objections in various ways to the developer's proposed project to build 42 townhouse apartment units. Many of these have been heard and recorded in council and zoning board meetings. I believe the objections are valid and support the appropriateness of this zoning application, rezoning application, as set forth in the city charter, paragraph 1217.04, and with regard to the standards, the general standards that are set for to be considered for zoning amendments. The proposed development will not be in the best interest of the surrounding communities. Additionally, to my knowledge, there's been no community expression of need for building rental units. It would seem that the developer is determined only to gain the maximum return from this parcel, with little or no concern for the immediate or long-term impact it will have on the surrounding communities. I urge council to approve this ordinance for the benefit of the Pataskala and Harrison Township communities of Beechwood Trails, Barrington Ridge, Jefferson Ridge, and Jefferson Meadow, not for the short-sighted project of the developer. I thank you for your service to Pataskala.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak tonight? Okay, seeing none, introduction, discussion, approval of consent agenda matters.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow, seconded by Mr. Powell. Discussion? And roll, please, Kathy.
Carter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Okay, consent agenda passes. On to reports. Obviously, we had an awesome Saturday with the weather and the folks that continued to line up to take a tour of that station. It was every time I walked in there, we were bottled up, and folks really enjoyed seeing the new station and the weight room and everything, and it was just a fabulous day. The Lions Club was very happy, and it was great to see everybody, and for once not worry about the weather. Didn't have to have one eye on the sky, and somebody could have gave me a little lotion, I guess, but what an awesome day, and I thank everybody for being there, and I was telling our law director this morning that this morning I came in just around shift change, and it was so nice to go into that room as the guys were interacting and changing shifts and talking to one another, and to have it's almost like a tool. The police station is a tool for them to continue to bring that level of professionalism, not only to the city, but themselves. It was great interaction this morning as they traded notes from the evening to the next shift, and the detectives were in there working on something, and the sergeants were doing their thing, and it was just a fabulous thing to see. So hard to believe that this project, 4 or 5 year projects, finally come to an end. So I know it's not appropriate, but somebody pinch me. So thank you very much for all that good stuff. Mr. Barstow, got anything?
No, I had the same comments on the police station. It was a great event. It was great to see it. I've already did the tour, and I tell folks who want to know what's inside, I say just go down there, and those guys are so jazzed up that they'll just give you a tour. They'll take you all over the place, anywhere you want to go. It really is fantastic. It's a great building. It's and everybody I talked to that had gone through on the tour was just totally impressed and said, wow, this is really, really top notch. So congratulations to the police department for coming up with the idea for it, and Horn and King, Robertson for the execution, because it all sort of came together, and we have a great addition to the city. It's really, really nice to have that building, and it's a great addition to the city, and I'm assuming it's going to be a great help to the police department. So congratulations, Bruce.
Thank you,
Thanks,
sir.
Mayor.
Mr. Zetz.
Nothing, Mayor, thank you.
Mr. King, are you covering for a few folks tonight?
First of all, I'm going to do mine,
Okay.
and then I will cover for a couple. I want to piggyback just on the police station stuff. It was a great day. One of the things I loved enjoying and seeing was the interaction between the public that was there and the officers who were there. They were nonstop giving tours. They were willing to do so, and it was just really nice to be able to see that interaction occur between the officers and the public. So, Bruce, kudos. Nice job. Moving on, the old police station. This Wednesday, we are going to have a clean out day of the station. The contractors are ready to get going. Had some over today to do a walkthrough to start to plan out their work, how they're going to do it. So on Wednesday all day, we're going to have staff from the police, public services, utilities. I'm going to be over there to get the place cleaned out so we can get started on it as well. Plan to start about 8:30, so if anybody has any free time and is interested in lifting stuff, feel free to join us. Also on June 11th, Chris, Alan and I are going to attend a grant and public project financing workshop at Hortsey. Appreciate their willingness to attend that as well. And I will segue into public services with this. We talked at the last meeting about the Oak Meadow Drive project and the difference between a sidewalk and a path. Council passed a resolution for the base bid, which included the path. If we were going to go with the sidewalk, we certainly would need to pass a resolution to amend that to include the bid alternate of the sidewalk. We'd love some direction on that. We have talked to the contractor, well aware that it could be one or the other, and waiting to hear back. It will be something that occurs later in the project, but I would love to get some direction from that so we can make that determination. Hopefully at the tonight, then have a resolution on one way or another at the next meeting. From a public service standpoint, the Columbia Road culvert, which Alan has called the Banana Culvert, has been replaced. It is completed. Took a couple days. Also, within the next week or two, we're going to have some log jams removed from South Fork Creek. some along Foundation Park and also at Key Boulevard Bridge to protect some public infrastructure. Mosquito spraying is scheduled for this Wednesday. We've advertised and put public notice out. I know Jess has received several calls about people wanting to get away from and not have spraying done in front of the property. And then also, as you saw today, the Headley's Mill culvert replacements will begin next week. Take it 3 to 4 days to do that. Public notice will go out Wednesday and Friday, and we will have the message boards out. Happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Anything for BJ/Allen? Yes.
On the sidewalks, I mean, for folks who weren't, for members who weren't here at the last meeting and have a chance maybe to look at the minutes or listen to the recording, and we had some Oak Meadow folks, and they were pretty adamant about wanting to have sidewalks as opposed to the asphalt path, so, there's a.
Go ahead, Todd, I'm just acknowledging that she's next.
Oh, okay. Oh,
She had her hand up.
oh, I heard a noise down there, I thought she was ready to throw something at me. Anyway, no, I mean, I think the sense of the neighborhood was that there's additional cost of BJ's at
It's $34,000,
and we can pay for some of that out of the in lieu of fund, the sidewalk in lieu fund,
we could.
some of it, and then the rest of it, we could find a way to pay for it, I
Yeah,
think.
right now, $65,000 is being put towards the project from the sidewalk fee in lieu of. There's $16,000 remaining in that aside from that 65, so the rest would be made up, or any portion thereof would be made up from the street fund.
Yeah, I think the strong sense of at least the representatives who were here was that they wanted sidewalks as opposed to the asphalt, walking path, so. My comment was is that we can find the money somewhere to pay for that, so I'd ask the administration to prepare that resolution for the next meeting, we can have a further discussion on it. That's my thought.
Mrs. Carter?
I apologize that I wasn't here for that discussion. As I'm in the chair of the Streets Committee, we have, and I've been on the Street Committee for a number of years, we have had this discussion at length for a very long time. The Oak Meadow project, when brought to us by the citizens, was brought to us as a safety concern, which is why the asphalt path was put in to begin with. As we've delved into that over the years, as everyone knows, it's grown from small to an $800,000 project that we haven't even started on yet. Along the way, it was the consensus of the street committee, in years past and the current street committee, that we would not change to the concrete sidewalk for additional monies, considering the amount of money, A, that was already put into the project and the way it had grown, and two, that the sidewalk trail, the trail was initially brought to us because of safety and kids traveling on bikes and people running and walking to the park. The comment was made that they felt like they were second-class citizens. And I don't see anybody who's been systematically discriminated against who lives along Oak Meadow Drive, especially not with an $800,000 street repair in their future. I am not in favor of additional monies towards that project. Not because I have anything against the citizens on Oak Meadow Drive, but simply because there are more projects than we can count across the city that need money. And from dangerous intersections to crosswalks to street repairs to people who love to have their sidewalks repaired, which they won't understand when we put in a sidewalk, but we tell them that we don't fix sidewalks. It's their responsibility. I do not believe that it's a wise investment to put in an additional amount of money for something that was never, in fact, sidewalks were never discussed until recently. Over all this time, it was the asphalt path is what it was. And while I realize the proportion of the cost of the sidewalk versus the overall project is small, I would let everyone here know that that is $34,000 is roughly the annual salary of an administrative assistant to a high school principal. So for some taxpayers, that's a great deal of money. So that's why where the street committee has been with that. I'll leave it at that.
Mr. Hicken?
I've given this a lot of thought. One of the things, and everybody will have to ultimately come to the point where they're comfortable or not with the suggestion. Several of the vocal citizens, both the other night and the past, have brought up the idea of an assessment. And while assessments don't do the city a lot of good on large dollar projects, because the assessment is recovered by the city at a very slow rate for a relatively, with respect, a lower dollar amount. If we were to get their agreement on that, I could probably get behind it. And I'm obviously, if we're gonna move forward with a resolution, we'll all have a chance to voice these again, but when we're talking about it, I figured that's kind of where I'm starting to settle on it. And if they are willing to do that, then I would be willing to possibly move forward with that.
And even if we went that route, BJ, the project would be done and then that would be worked on, right? Assessing.
We could, yes, you know, we need to make a decision whether it's a path or a sidewalk, then it can always be assessed. City has to pay for it up front, one way or another.
Mr. King, one other question that I had kind of related to this is, you talked about the length of the project and that this would probably be the last or near the last. What's the impetus for having us do this immediately? Is there?
So the contractor knows what to plan for.
Okay.
Ordering material, you know, as far as the last or next last, the contractor needs to know to be able to line up materials and everything.
Thank you.
Mrs. Carter?
There's additional, the other thing is that the engineering and the plans and everything are already in the works for this, and there would be additional cost, some additional cost to change to a sidewalk.
No, there would not be an additional cost. We bid it out as sidewalk as the alternate, so there would
So
not
it was
be.
already written
It's,
there.
yeah,
Okay.
that's all done. Contractor's just waiting to hear.
Just waiting to hear.
Mr. Lee?
Yeah, I'm exactly where, I think Tim said it best, I'm exactly where Tim's at on it, and, I guess my question is we would have to, maybe this is for you, we would have to pass it before we could go do the assessment part, or could we pass it with that stipulation put on it? How would that work?
I would recommend going ahead and passing it so we can let the contractor know what's gonna be done, cause the assessment portion is gonna take some time to determine what, each cost is gonna be, for an assessment, and also filing that with the county, so.
But don't the residents have to be petitioned to
Yes.
take that? So
Yeah.
let's just say,
It'll take some time.
let's just say hypothetically that we pass it and they don't sign the petition. And,
Can always non-perform if need be.
okay.
Yeah.
Any other input on that?
Hey, Mayor,
Yes.
if I can, and an option was always to non-perform either one if need be. And then come back, and if the residents want to be petitioned to have sidewalks along there, city could fund it as a CIP project, install them, and then also, assess at that point. So it is nothing is set in stone that there must be a path or sidewalks. Could be one, the other, or neither at this point. As Mel mentioned, there was the safety component, which was a big driver for the Oak Meadow project, getting people to the park.
And sidewalks would be maintained by owners, blacktop path would be maintained by the city.
That's right.
Okay, anything else on that subject? Okay, so, you have anything on, as far as Jamie goes?
I don't.
Okay. But I'll ask, you know, do you have any questions on the financial report that BJ could take back and make sure it gets answered?
For now, if anybody has any.
Okay. Very good. Thanks, BJ.
Thanks, Mayor.
Chris?
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have a whole lot outside the report, just a couple of highlights I wanted to hit on. As we started the night with the induction of Danielle, the department's back to full staff, which is a blessing for everybody in the department. We're glad to have her on board. We have a root control system that we use for some of our sewer lines in the Old Town area. We're gonna go in within about a month, we're gonna go back to doing this year's area. It's a foam treatment that we put in the sewer line. prevents the roots from growing, and comes with a 2-year guarantee after that. Where if we have any blockages due to root congestion, they will cover the cost to clear it. So it's something we do on a 2-year rotating cycle. So that's coming up in about a month, and we have to get that scheduled. We did have another water leak, seems to be a recurring issue for us lately. We had a saddle fail on Reeve Ridge out in Beechwood Trails, so the crew went out and replaced the saddle and the service line all the way up to the curb stops with new stainless steel saddle and poly service line. We also had a sewer main backup, the High Street and Cedar Street area. It did not affect any residents. The crew found it was a blockage caused by a rain guard at the top of a manhole that had fallen down and ended up blocking the pipe in that area. So while FECOR was out here with the jet truck, we went ahead and jetted 4 blocks in that area just to make sure it was clear, but everything is back to normal operation. We did have Trent Howe, the system superintendent, set up a excavation and trenching safety training course given by BWC. They gave it here in council. It was free of charge. Public Service Department was able to attend, so it was just about an hour and a half overview of different safety precautions to take while we're in an excavating situation. So that was very nice. And then the final thing I have is at the beginning of the meeting I passed out the exact same summary of the rate discussion that has been going on that you were given last council meeting. I just wanted to give it to you again just as a refresher in anticipation of having something to present to council at the next meeting in June. Outside of that, I don't have anything. Be happy to answer any questions.
Yes, sir.
Can you just mention what you're doing as far as inspecting the water towers and what you're setting up to do?
Yes, so we're going through the process of getting some bids to clean Southeast Water Tower over at the wastewater plant. One of the bids has come in exceptionally lower than the other 2 bids. With that, we think that possibly we can get some touch-up paint done while they're up there cleaning the tank as they're coming down. In order to have a good idea on how much touch-up paint is required, one of the officers has volunteered to fly his drone pilot and take pictures of the tower for us. He has also volunteered to make that an annual part of our tower inspections, which is I'm very grateful for. So we'll be able to take those pictures, send that to the cleaning company, and get a estimate on touch-up paint as well. So that is a very, very nice thing to have.
Departments working together.
Absolutely.
I love it. Very good. Very, very good. Anything else for Chris? How many water towers we got?
We have 4.
4.
Yes.
All in operation.
Yes. Yep. 2 in Beechwood, Headley Mills, and the 1 at wastewater.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Scott, what do you got for me tonight?
Thank you, Mayor. One item I wanted to highlight from my report was application ZON 19005 under the May 1st, 2019 Planning and Zoning Commission hearing. The Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval of this rezoning to a planned development district. It's for a 60-lot subdivision located north of Hazelwood and south and west of Beechwood Trails. That will be ordinance 2019-4341 that's scheduled to have a public hearing before council on June 17th at 6:30. Aside from that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anything for Scott tonight?
Scott, what was that number again? I'm sorry.
Ordinance 2019-4341.
No, the zoning number 19005.
Yes, that's the first one on top of the report.
Gotcha. I just missed it. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome.
Mr. Crawford.
Thank you, Mayor. First thing I would like to highlight, the Liberty Park project with the Nature Works grant for 2018. The specifications were sent over to Hall today, and he's going to start working on the specs in the bidding process. Once that information is complete, I would have to send that information over to Mary Fitch with ODNR for approval. Once we have that approval from ODNR, we'll have a finite date or a schedule when we can create a process of bidding. We had several events occur over the last 2 weeks. We also had a lot of, service groups come out to Car Park over the last week. Grace Church came out and did an exceptional job on Car Park. They spread out 4 loads of mulch. They also cleaned out most of the garden beds that are in the back here at Carr Park and also painted our benches. We had Troop 4026 come out as well the week before to also spread some regular mulch around some trees, make it look beautiful for the spring. So we're looking forward to completing that part hopefully within the next month. Our story trail was a success. Suzanne did a good job with presenting that over there at Municipal Park. We also had our Kids to the Park Day, same day as the opening on Saturday. That was a success as well. We had some, I guess, small attendance taken, and we roughly had about 100 attend the event. That included some archery tag. You wouldn't believe how many people flocked for the fishing. I only have 5 fishing poles, and everybody wanted to fish, so I'm hoping to receive the Rod and Reels grant funds here soon so I can purchase the fishing poles for the June 22nd activity. The ODNR grant for this year is due June 1st, hoping to have it completed by Monday of next week. And if I get it done, I'll make sure you guys have an opportunity to review before it's finalized and sent out on the 31st. The pool, we had our county inspection last Friday. We are good to go. We passed our inspections. We've been rolling chemicals in every day, taking our samples daily. And our opening day is this Saturday, so I'm looking forward to dedicating some time to learning the process. And as of now, I'll probably add around 5 to 8 hours per week with trying to learn that process, opening and closing. I'll go to this Friday's, I think it's their lifeguard training classes, and I'll go there this Friday afternoon to shadow and in that process. And other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anything for Lanier? Thanks, sir.
You're welcome.
Chief Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks everybody for coming out, both council and citizens, to the opening. It was really nice to see so many people, and it was fun to interact with the ones that I could. And there's a mini triathlon that Licking Memorial sponsors, and that will be Saturday, June 15th at Municipal Park. We start in the park, and it's do a bike ride and a quick run around the soccer field, and then a lap in the pool, and it's a lot of fun. And even if you don't have small ones, it's worth coming out to watch. It's a good time. And Officer Mills actually accepted his possession with Columbus Police Department, and he'll be leaving mid-June. And we opened up our application process on the National Testing Network website, and so far we have about 13 applicants. So as soon as he leaves, we'll start that process of trying to replace him. It kind of creates a problem because not only is he one of our officers and a training officer, he's actually security for Mayor's Court. So we'll have to work hard to fill basically 2 spots. And that's all I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anything for Bruce? Yes, sir.
Chief, refresh us, how many is that this year, or within the past year that we've lost?
I can give you 2 years. I think it's 8 in 2 years.
Thank you, Chief. Yes.
Where did he go?
Columbus Police Department.
I'm sorry, you might have said that, I missed it. Thank you.
Committee chair reports. Anything? All right. Unfinished business. Ordinance 2019-4336 for a third reading. Moved by Mr. Barstow. Seconded by Mr. Powell. Kathy, when you're ready. Third reading.
Ordinance 2019-4336. This is the third reading, and an ordinance to make supplemental appropriation for current expenses and other expenditures during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2019.
Discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I move we amend ordinance 2019-4336 with substitution.
Got a motion to amend by Mr. Barstow. Seconded by Mr. Powell. Discussion? Roll on the motion to amend.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Picken,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter?
Yes.
Motion passes. Back to the original ordinance. Any discussion?
With this language added, we'll still need a fourth reading, right?
We will.
All right, ordinance 2019-4337 for a third reading.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, point of order, the record should reflect I'm leaving the council table.
I'm sorry?
I'm leaving.
Okay.
He's
Yep.
recusing.
He's recusing himself. Very good, sir. Ordinance 2019-4337 for a third reading.
Some,
Moved by Mr. Powell,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Lee. Kathy, when you're ready.
Ordinance 2019-4337, this is the third reading, and an ordinance requesting an amendment/change to the zoning classification of the property located at 0 Watkins Road Southwest, parcel number 064-068-422-00.047, totaling 6.88 plus or minus acres, and the city of Pataskala from multifamily residential RM zoning classification to the medium-low density residential R87 zoning classification.
Discussion? And roll.
Actually,
Okay,
yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit about this.
all right.
It's gone through its readings, and despite, it should come as no surprise to anybody where I ultimately am gonna fall on this. Essentially what we have here is a property owning corporation, that sometime in the past asked to rezone a piece of property in the city, and then decided that they weren't really gonna do what they said. I don't know if somebody came in here and said, hey, we'd like to rezone this agricultural land to make widgets, and then in 5 years said, yeah, we were kidding, we're putting in a tannery. Sorry about your noses. This is, to me, this is analogous to that. We have a developer, and I wish I had a nickel for every person that stood at that lectern, and every developer that stood there and said, we want to work with the city, consistently put that idea forward, and yet this is not a community type project, in my opinion, because the citizens around there certainly don't like it. The schools have spoken out against it. I don't know quite yet where the fire department stands on it, but that's a different can of worms because that's transportation based. The township that abuts it doesn't like it, and council doesn't much like it either, in many aspects. I understand, in fact, I requested that developer or their representatives be recontacted to see if they're still, there was some talk last time that maybe we would want to talk. I appreciate you for reaching out and doing that, but the answer was no, and they're pretty much gonna move forward. With that said, barring crazy concerns, I personally don't like zoning people's property out from underneath them, if that's the right term. I've used it before. It might not be the greatest way, but that's what people say they hate about government, is when government, the big guy, comes and takes stuff from the little guy. And whether or not you think this is a little guy, this is government exercising its power that way. I'm fairly certain, you can't be 100% certain, but I kind of get the vibe that we'll probably end up in a lawsuit with both the developer and the seller. And lately, the way we've been getting kicked in the teeth when it comes to court cases, I'm very wary of that. And so we may end up paying court costs for ourselves and them, and maybe a damage, who knows, and then they're still gonna get to put the apartments there. Also, I think it's important to point out that given the speed that our zoning moves, currently, correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, because this is very snake eating its own tail sometimes.
mm-hmm.
But there is a tabled approval at planning and zoning right now. If that approval does come off the table and is given, which we have no control of as a council, that individual developer can begin building. And given the glacial pace of zoning changes, if he could be building on it before the zoning change goes through this fall. So, you know, I'm disappointed, I'm sad. In the future, I will be very wary and reticent when people come in and they say, oh no, we're working with you. Because this is an instance where that hasn't happened, but individually, for me, zoning that out from underneath them, I ultimately will not be voting to accept it, so I want everybody to know that.
Any other discussion? Tommy?
You wanna go? I've said the same thing for the past 2 meetings, but just for those that weren't here, I'm with Tim. I don't wanna zone this out from under anyone. I don't like that. It's kinda goes against a lot of the things that I believe in. But as much thought as I've put into it, doesn't make it right. And I see this as not a good development for the city, the residents. It's great for the developer. It's awesome for them. They're gonna probably make a lot of money off this, which I'm a capitalist, I'm good with that. But my biggest concern is safety. I knew the fire department signed off on it, and I said this last meeting, but that's my profession, and I look at things a little bit different. When I'm looking at a plan, I told you guys last meeting, we do pre-plans, and we pre-plan new subdivisions, so we have a game plan going into things. I look at this, and I see 3 buildings that I can get 1 fire truck to. I mean, so do I really feel bad about taking this out from underneath somebody? Yeah. But consciously, I'm going with safety, and I intend to vote yes for it because of that. The school already said they're not gonna put a bus back there. What about our kids walking out? I mean, that's a safety issue as well, so I'm gonna vote yes. I'm gonna err on the side of safety. I don't like doing it, wouldn't wanna do it again if I don't have to, but we've asked the developer if they'd be willing to compromise. They don't seem to be, so at this point, I'm going to vote yes because I have serious safety concerns with it.
Did you say West Licking did or did not like it?
I don't think they weighed in, did they, BJ? Or Scott?
Mr. Kunzman contacted them and they said based upon fire code that the development did not meet a certain threshold. We reached out to them again. They didn't provide us anything in writing. It was just a phone call between our city planner and their plans reviewer. We've reached out again to get something in writing indicating their stance on that, and I'll have to follow up with our city planner tomorrow to see if
But
we've
didn't
got
this
that.
change since they've ruled on it the first time?
It did change. There was additional parking spaces that were added.
I'm just telling you, with the way the parking's configured here, and you got one way in, one way out. And I'm not gonna speak for the fire department, but I mean, I would think that it may meet code. I would say it probably does, but that doesn't change it for me. I mean, things can meet code and still not be right, I guess you could say that. Or I've seen things signed off before, and then when it's actually built, you get there and you're like, I can't do anything with, like, work with us. So it'll probably meet code. I would say he'd probably sign off on that, I'm assuming, but that doesn't change anything for me.
Mrs. Carter?
I've gone back and forth on this one quite a bit because obviously, you know, we've had a lot of discussion in the past several months about development in the city and how we want it and what's going on, what's good for us. And with unanimously voted no for a very large development because we just didn't feel like it was right for the city. I do not feel like this is right for our city. Personally, I agree with every resident in the area, in the schools. I don't like where it's at. I don't like how they've done it. I don't like that we were misled. I don't like any of that. But when I look at it as far as you know, the zoning of the property, it was zoned that way when this developer bought it. I don't think it's constitutional for us to change the zoning. I don't like it, but I don't believe that it's constitutional. So I'm already and have been wary of the developers coming in the area, because like Tommy said, they'll line their pockets and then they'll go, and we'll be left here to deal with the problems that result from it. But ultimately, I'm not sure it's something that we can win if we were to be sued over it. So I'm going to vote no, not because I like it, but because I feel like that's ultimately, in the bigger picture, the right thing for the city when it comes to being sued and how it would stand up.
Yeah, I share a lot of the concerns that have been talked about. I don't think this is good for the city, and one of my big hangups has been the private property issue. Should we zone out from under people? I don't know. I've really gone back and forth on this. And I think one thing to keep in mind is that we're not voting for a zoning change right now. We are voting to apply for a zoning change. So while I do have the concern in regards to private property, I'm willing to flesh those out over the course of the process of zoning. And so I'm going to be voting yes for this.
Okay, Andy? Yes?
Yeah, I think Mike brings up a great point, that, you know, just to be clear and make sure that we're correct, if this passes, it goes back to the commission, no matter how they vote on it, it comes back to us. So I think that's a valid point. Mr. Zetz, not to put you on the spot again, but
That's correct. We talked about that before. That's correct.
no, just overall, I know you said that this could go, because we've asked your legal opinion on it and what the outcome of this likely would be if a zoning change occurred. And you say,
Honestly, I don't know.
you don't know.
And I'm not going to opine in open session as to how.
I'm not asking for, I'm just, is there anything, I think Mel brings up great points, you know, about it being potentially unconstitutional. I mean, is there anything that you see?
I do not agree that it's unconstitutional.
I don't think that she was saying that was. She was saying it possibly was. I don't mean.
She kind of said that, actually. I don't agree with that. Nor does the city in its official legal position.
I just wanted to see if you had anything to add.
I do not.
Mr. King?
Yeah, I just want to say, just to confirm, vote tonight sends it to Planning and Zoning Commission. If it's a yes vote, it goes to Planning and Zoning Commission. If it's a no vote, it does not. Planning and Zoning Commission will make a recommendation to council whether to approve or deny. It will come back to city council then for public hearing and 3 more readings for approval or denial by city council.
Tim?
Say that again, Mr. King.
Tonight's vote,
Right.
if the vote is yes, it will get referred to the Planning and Zoning Commission for their consideration. If the vote is no, it dies tonight. If it does go to Planning and Zoning Commission, they will consider it, and they will make a recommendation to council whether to approve or deny the rezoning. It will come back to city council regardless of what their determination is. Comes back to city council, we will go through the process of public hearing, and then 3 readings, and then a 30-day referendum before anything would take effect.
That is correct.
Mr. Powell?
Thanks.
I think during that time too, I can just open it up to, you know, any information that anybody wants to bring forward regarding this, you know, saying, hey, you guys are 100% in the wrong in doing this, and we had, you know, this is definitive that you can't do this, or anything in the other way, or the other direction too. I think that, you know, that's something that we should be open to hearing. And again, that's something that can happen during that time, that we can ultimately, even if it passes tonight, we could ultimately end up denying it because of new information. So I think we just let the process play out. I think that'd be.
Mrs. Carter?
Mr. Zetz, I have a question. If we were to vote yes on this tonight, and it were to go back to the planning commission, would the developer then be within their, because they know it's ultimately gonna come back to council, inclined to go ahead and move forward with a lawsuit? Or do they have to wait? Is there any?
Well, I can't say exactly what they'll do. I mean, I think an argument could be made against them doing anything before it ultimately got back to council, because really you don't know, because you really don't know what planning commission's going to do. I think it would be hard, really. I'm not going to speak for their attorneys, but it definitely would be hard to do anything legally at the planning commission stage. It might be hard to do anything before council makes a final vote, once it comes back to you, because you don't really know what the answer is going to be until you actually make a decision at the end. Assume they decide that they want to, planning commission decides they want to do it. That still doesn't mean that you guys don't have the ability to deny, their recommendation. So, I wouldn't anticipate, I don't think there's much legal challenge you can make. Though the guys' voices are good, I think they're great ideas. Sometimes a little out there, but, I don't think you'll have much to, there could be much of a legal challenge before council makes its final decision.
Well, Mr. Powell makes a compelling argument, that it comes back to us anyhow, and then it allows time for more information and more investigation.
It doesn't mean they couldn't file one.
Right.
Before that.
But
Okay, any other discussion? Yes, sir.
Hey, Brian, if you could just, so if Planning and Zoning Commission proceeded with taking the TCOD application off the table and approved it, what does that do for the rezoning request that was sent to Planning and Zoning Commission?
I'll defer to Scott on, I think I know the answer, but I'll defer to Scott on that.
In my opinion, I think if the TCOD was approved, and then we go through the process, and as Mr. Hicken outlined, it was kind of the back of an envelope sketch. If we did the time frame and it went through, it wouldn't be till the beginning of October. If the construction plans were in and approved and everything was moving along, it would appear to me that it would become a legal non-conforming use. The apartments were permitted, the apartments were under construction, the zoning changed, so the apartments are legal, it just doesn't meet the current zoning classification. That's my understanding.
And that's why I let him say, because he can say a lot better than me. But I agree with that. Because we've talked about it.
can you say it one more time?
So, on June 5th, the TCOD is going to the Planning and Zoning Commission. So on June 5th, they could have yay or nay for Planning and Zoning Commission. So they could say, yes, you're approved. Their next step would be to submit construction drawings and the normal procedure before they get the permits and then actually start building. So they could arguably in August be constructing the roads, putting in the infrastructure, etc. So the rezoning, it would have to go, if approved, if this ordinance tonight were approved, it'd have to wait 30 days and then it could go to Planning and Zoning Commission. So we're looking at July. And then if we go through that process, they make a recommendation, has to sit another 30 days, we do 3 readings in a 30-day referendum period, that makes it April. So apartments could be October. So apartments could be under construction while the zoning is still going through the process. So the apartments could be there and it's now rezoned to this, which makes it a legal non-conforming use. So arguably, from how I understand this to work, the rezoning wouldn't do anything to stop the construction of the apartments.
And if it were to do nothing, and then it was non-conforming use of the way it was zoned,
Mm-hmm.
what are the ramifications of that? Anything? For the developer or the?
Off the top of my head, I mean, we'd have to look at the setbacks change, certain items like that change, but if the plan has been approved as is, it's not like, for example, a lot of times we'll see like a house that might be in the ag district that's only 5 acres when it's supposed to be 10. Well then, it's legally non-conforming, but then you come into issues with setbacks or things like that that require variance. If this has been approved per the plan, then we're not gonna run into, I can't foresee really any of those issues. That it'll be built per plan and then be legally existing, even though the zoning doesn't match.
Mr. Mayor, real quick, Scott, question.
Mm-hmm.
I think the TCOD got tabled back, what, March?
That's correct, it would be April, I'm gonna say April.
For a traffic study.
That's correct.
So is what you're saying, it is definitely coming off the table in June, or is that still, or you think it is?
I'm probably 90% sure. However, that being said, it's at the pleasure of the Planning and Zoning Commission to take it off the table. But they requested to be tabled so a traffic study could be performed. That traffic study was performed, but it's been submitted, so from my perspective, I don't see a reason why they would not, but again, that's the Planning Commission's pleasure to take it off the table and hear it.
I guess I should have reworded that. That's what I was getting at is has that traffic study been submitted? And, okay, that answered my question. Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion, input? Kathy, roll please.
We need a motion
Oh.
to adopt.
Okay,
I move we adopt ordinance 2019.
got a motion to adopt by Mr. Powell. Need a second? Second by Mr. Lee. Discussion and roll.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
No.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
No.
Howe,
Yes.
excuse me.
Okay, ordinance passes. Ordinance 2019-4338 for a third reading.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mr. Powell, seconded by Mr. Hicken. Let the record show that Mr. Barstow is rejoining the group. Kathy, when you're ready, third reading.
Ordinance 2019-4338, this is the third reading, an ordinance to amend ordinance 2014-4202, the mayor's court cost fee schedule of the city of Pataskville.
Discussion? I made sure Mr. Kelsey was here tonight, just so if you had any questions, so,
I would say thank you very much for the handout.
You're very welcome. I do have some additional information on costs from other jurisdictions if anybody has
council's
any
pleasure to
interest.
hear that.
Sure.
I mean, it's up
Okay.
to you folks. I don't want to take up your time needlessly.
I'm good.
Okay.
Approach the bench.
Thank you.
Just kidding.
Members of council, thank you for your time. Let me preface my remarks by saying, Chief, I've worked with Officer Mills now for some time in my court. And I want everybody here to know that I'm gonna miss him professionally, and most importantly, I'm gonna miss him personally. Please let him know that.
We all.
So folks, third reading as I understand, and let me just maybe give you some insight as to what other jurisdictions are doing in this matter. First of all, and I give Mr. Barstow some credit to this because he was the one that actually started the ball rolling on even having traffic diversion in our court. So we are one of the few mayor's courts that actually have traffic diversion. I asked Tanya to go out to the Central Ohio Clerk of Mayor's Courts to see what other jurisdictions either are doing or aren't doing. As far as the ones that responded, I'm going to start with Licking County Municipal Court. That's our jurisdiction. They do have a traffic diversion case, and they charge a $150 fee plus $83 in court costs for a total of $233. Grandview Heights, no traffic diversion program. Worthington Mayor's Court, no traffic diversion program. Hilliard Mayor's Court, no traffic diversion. Westerville does have one, Their total fee is $241. Upper Arlington has one, and their fee is $225. Ours is $200. I'll be glad to answer any questions, but I thought that might enlighten you as to what other jurisdictions are doing, to the best of my knowledge.
Anything for Mr. Kelsey? Thanks for
Thank you
bringing
for your
that
time.
additional information, sir. Any other discussion? And Kathy, roll call, please.
The point of order, Mr.
Oh,
Mayor.
I'm sorry. Okay. Yep, yep.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 2019-4338.
Have a motion to adopt by Mr. Hicken,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Powell. Discussion? And roll.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
No.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken.
Yes.
Ordinance passes. Ordinance 2019-4335 for a second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Barstow, seconded by Mr. Powell. Kathy, when you're ready, second reading.
Ordinance 2019-4335, this is the second reading and amendment to chapter 1315 of the codified ordinances of the city of Pataskla and repeal all other ordinances and parts of the ordinances in conflict therewith.
Discussion? Okay. Ordinance 2019-4339 for a second
So
reading.
moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Powell. Kathy, when you're ready, second reading.
Ordinance 2019-4339, this is the second reading, an ordinance to make supplemental appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2019.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Barstow?
I move that we dispense with the readings of ordinance 2019-4339 on 3 separate dates as provided for in section 4.04 of the Charter of the City of Pataskla.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to dispense with the readings by Mr. Barstow and Mr. Powell. Discussion on that? Yes, sir.
I just have a quick question. What does waiting one meeting get us? Why are we accelerating that?
This is the one we've talked about in the past to pay the IT guy for the police station.
And only to pay the IT.
And only to pay the
That's
IT.
all it does. It was all
That's all it
separated
does.
out.
That's it.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, voting on the motion to dispense.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Okay, motion to dispense with the readings passed. So,
Mr. Mayor,
yes, sir.
I move we adopt, unless there's discussion on this ordinance. I move we adopt ordinance 2019-4339.
Got a motion to adopt?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Powell. Discussion? And roll, please.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Ordinance passes. Ordinance 2019-4340 for a second reading.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Powell. Kathy, when you're ready, second reading.
Ordinance 2019-4340, this is the second reading, and ordinance amending section 925.01, Rule 8, Rule 9, Rule 11, and Rule 15 of the codified ordinances of the city of Pataskla as shown in Exhibit A.
Any discussion? Okay, on to resolutions. Resolution 2019-032 is currently on the table. No desire to take that off? All right.
Do we need to take that off? BJ?
At least to discuss it,
Okay.
if possible. I mean,
Well, we have to let's take off the table and discuss it, don't we?
yeah, we can put
Yes.
it back if we need to.
Mr. Mayor, I move we take resolution 2019-032 off the table.
Got a motion to remove,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Lee. Discussion?
Just wanted to know,
Wait, you gotta,
oh, I'm sorry,
Just
I'm
go
sorry, I
vote
got
on
ahead
it.
of myself.
Go
My
ahead,
bad.
Scott.
So we have to take a roll.
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Okay, off the table, go ahead.
I guess I wanted to bring it off the table just to find out if this is something that, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, were we talking, is this what we were talking about last meeting, bringing, or waiving readings on?
No, it is not.
Which one?
This relates back to 4336, and it's to allow Jamie to certify funds to make these
Right.
payments that are still outstanding for the police station.
I'm good with putting it back on the table. What I wanted to, the reason I wanted to bring it off and make sure that we discuss this was because I don't want us to owe any, if we owe something to somebody, I think we should consider getting them paid for that. If that's not the case, I'm good with putting it back. But we couldn't discuss it without doing that. Where are we with that? Do we owe anybody?
We do, and we will owe an additional $70,000 until ordinance 4336 is approved, but we've been able to pay outstanding invoices up to that point.
Has that work been performed, I assume?
Yes.
Okay, I'll leave it out there for council to.
Can we leave it on the table, BJ?
We certainly can.
I think it may not be a bad idea.
No, we can leave it on the table until the next meeting, and I say pair it up with 4336,
Right.
ordinance 4336.
Right, exactly.
Right.
That's why they have to go together.
Right.
Fair enough.
Yeah, we can't have passed the resolution when Jamie doesn't have an ordinance to pay him, and then we can't have an ordinance without the resolution.
Approving this, we would not be able to proceed anyway.
Right, yeah.
I just wanted to make sure we didn't owe somebody
That's a good question.
something and we weren't not paying it for work performed. So I'm good with putting it back.
Literally, that was completely, that was kind of my thoughts too, but I think I had answered those questions through discussions the past week, but thank you.
Okay.
So it needs to be.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
I move we put ordinance, resolution 2019-2 back on the table. Second.
Motion and seconded. You have to vote on that?
Yep.
Okay, Kathy?
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Okay, 032 is tabled. Okay. Resolution 2019-040, resolution authorizing and directing the city administrator to advertise, receive, and open bids for the exclusive franchise agreement for residential refuse, recycling, and yard waste collection.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Powell. Discussion? And roll, please.
Carter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Resolution passes. Motions. Motion to authorize payment in the amount of $10,000 to Grow Licking County for 2019 membership fees.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a motion to put this motion on the table?
Yes.
I'd like to make that motion.
Second.
Got a motion to table, seconded by Mr. Barstow. Discussion?
Never really made a motion, though. Did somebody make a motion?
Tim said he'd like to make a motion.
Right, you
just
never
have-
made a
you just have to
motion,
say
you
it.
said-
I move.
But no one made,
Okay.
if you don't actually make, you made the motion to pay it?
No.
No.
Yeah, if
no,
you don't make the
to
motion to-
table, no motion to pay has been made yet.
You just,
Okay.
Okay.
nothing
Well, I
to
figured once the mayor read it,
No,
would you wait for a second and then?
You have to make it.
I'm asking for a motion.
Oh.
So when I say I need a motion to, or I don't say that, I just say motion to authorize payment. So make a motion to pay it and then we'll table it.
Or how about just don't make the motion to pay it? If
Just
no one
skip
makes
it?
a motion, it doesn't,
Just skip it till next week?
if no one makes a motion, no one makes a motion.
Okay. We need a motion to authorize payment in the amount of $10,000 to Grow Licking County. Asking again. Asking for a third time. All right. See you in 2 weeks. Additional citizens' comments. Anybody wish to speak? Name and address, and you have 3 minutes, sir.
Gary Sunderman, 652 Monticello Court, Pasco, Ohio. I just want to thank the council for their consideration of the ordinance 2019-4337 and approving it. Don't know what'll happen from here, but it's still alive, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? Okay, what do you got for me?
Mr. Mayor, I move we go into executive session pursuant to Revised Code Section 121.22G1 to consider the discipline of a public employee. Invited into this executive session are Mayor Compton and Brian Zetz, Law Director.
Second.
Got a motion to go into executive session, seconded by Mr. Powell. Discussion?
Does that mean Mr. King will or will not be?
Will not. The people listed are Mayor Compton, the mayor, and Brian Zetz.
And obviously all council.
And the council, yes.
Okay, Kathy, roll please.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Howe,
Yes.
Okay, executive session at 8:11, upstairs, folks.
And you know that guy? Charlie, the guy that got the one that stopped signing the weapon.
Oh, that's true.
So,
That's very true.
need a motion to come out of executive session? Need a motion to come out of executive session?
second,
Who was first?
me,
Okay.
Melissa.
Carter and Mrs. Hayes. Discussion, roll.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Howe,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Okay, out of executive session at 8:57. We'll go around the, what's that? Oh, okay, go ahead, sure.
Mayor, Council, I wanted to bring to your attention the vote on ordinance 2019-4337. That was the rezoning amendment request. I'll give Kathy full credit for this because she actually brought it to my attention just as we were about to adjourn into executive session. We have to do some high math on this one because Todd Barstow had recused himself from the discussion and the vote on this. So his recusal basically left you with 6 council members. Remember, the way the charter's set up, an ordinance has to be passed by the majority of the members elected thereto, which means basically the members who are elected. Once Todd recuses himself, his seat basically sits as vacant, so it no longer counts in the voting total. So you then have basically 6 members of council voting, so you need a majority of those members elected there too. If you remember that the vote on ordinance 2019-4337 was 3-2. 3 votes is not a majority of the 6 that were here to vote, so that actually did not pass. That needed to be a 4-1 vote in order to pass. And again, that was Kathy brought that to my attention, and she's absolutely right. I agree. I think that's the way that the math works out because of the ordinance and the number of council people we had without Andy being here. We had 6 and you needed 4 to pass it. So that was not approved. I believe it should not head to planning commission for further consideration.
Good.
Is there anything, I know we talked about this with the Lincoln Heights School District staff about their conditional use. Is there a time frame or anything where council could reconsider this at a future meeting or not? And I don't have the charter or anything to take a look.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, reconsider reconsider the actual vote that was taken, or, I mean, there was a vote.
But if we had known we didn't have enough, it could have been tabled, correct?
Well, but you had enough to pass it. You just didn't. You just needed 4 votes. You had enough people here to pass it. You just didn't get the required number. You didn't get a majority of the people here because it was a 3-2 vote. I mean, the number of people. I mean, that didn't matter.
I guess, I think, for me, if I'd have known that, not that it would have changed my vote, but I would have thought about potentially tabling it and waiting on Mr. Walther, so we had a full council knowing that Todd was here. You could, had to recuse. I would have considered tabling the third reading and wait for full council, if I would have known that.
But
Wouldn't
you
change my vote.
Right, but it wouldn't change anybody's vote, though. That's what I'm getting at. It wouldn't change anybody's vote.
No,
so-
but if he was here,
If Andy was here,
it would have changed the
vote.
math.
Well, you don't know, because you don't know how he would have voted.
It doesn't matter though, right? Because if he
Yeah.
Yeah, because if it was 3-3, then the
The mayor
mayor
would've
would
broke
have cast
the
a
tie.
tie-breaking vote, and if it was 4-2, then that would have been the majority of council. I understand what you're saying.
that's all I'm saying
Because
is,
there's 2 and 2, and yeah, and he would have been the one on the either way, so it would have been the tiebreaker.
either way, it would have been, we would have had enough to, if it, I don't know, maybe what I'm saying is not making sense, but
Even if I broke a tie, you wouldn't have the majority.
yeah.
No, you
would-
wouldn't. You
yeah,
wouldn't.
would.
4-3, then that would have been the majority.
If it was 3-3, and just hypothetically, Mr. Walther would have voted no, and you would have broke the tie in favor, that's 4.
Okay.
You would be serving as a voting member.
Or
at
for
that
the
point
other
to
way.
break a tie.
Right, or the other way, right?
That's what I'm saying is it would have changed, maybe,
Would have changed.
not the outcome of the vote, but it would have changed the direction council took and possibly tabling it. I don't know if that makes sense. It does in my mind, but maybe I'm not saying it right.
So since we made an error in voting, you can't go back?
There wasn't an error in voting.
We made an error.
I mean, if Mr. Hicken or Ms. Carter would have voted a different way, it would have been different. Or anyone voted different, it would have been, there was no error in voting. Everyone voted the way they wanted to vote. You just didn't have enough votes.
That's not what I'm
Todd
arguing
is
about.
making a stinky face like she doesn't agree with us.
There's just a misunderstanding of them.
Can't do that.
All I'm saying, Brian, is if we, knowing that Mr. Barstow was going to recuse, and not knowing how everyone was gonna vote, knowing those rules, which I probably, shame on me for not, I would have considered tabling it and waiting for full council to have 6 members here that could vote.
So what's next?
Wouldn't be the first time that, people say, hey, if we know a couple people aren't coming, you table something or you do something so that everybody's either here or not here or whatever, so you get the.
But the fact that that didn't happen in real time, it just seems like you're saying that now because it was 3-2 instead of 4-1. And that's where I think
I see your point. I do. I'm throwing it out there as, would it,
Yeah, nobody knew the outcome on this one.
Right, yeah, no, I'd say, right, you didn't know the outcome and you didn't.
There's a piece in my brain that seems to remember that there is a term, and it may be abstention instead of recusal. But essentially, when you step back, you vote with the majority.
That is an abstention,
Okay.
that's so you can't somehow rig the vote to an outcome because 2 of you decide to abstain and then maybe there's someone else, so the math works out so you don't have enough yeses. So that's why an abstention counts with the majority of those voting. A recusal is a complete, just
No harm.
my seat's vacant.
Okay.
And I just want to for the record note that I've brought this up before, but our council rules say nothing about recusal, only abstention.
Right.
And that needs to be corrected.
You're right, we have brought that up. I always make sure you do it though when the ethics rules kind of want you to.
So if our rules don't say recusal and someone recuses themselves, it's still.
Well, because the only time anyone's ever recused themselves is really when the ethical rules say you better recuse yourself or you're gonna be in big trouble. So I always err on the side of, don't follow the rules, council rules as much, follow your ethical obligations.
I agree. I just would like to have it put in there. That way
I agree.
there's no conflicts.
With all this discussion, there certainly were people here tonight with vested interests in this. What can we do to contact them? But they were both they were both happy with the vote and some sad with the vote.
Plus media.
So, what do we do to make sure that those individuals are properly told? and then they don't sit out there spinning and thinking, hey, I lost, or hey, I won. I agree, yay, council did what I wanted, or they didn't, when the fact is actually it was
Well,
defeat.
sorry, isn't media already, is this not being picked up anyway and being recorded so that it would be?
But when they were here, they
But he was here.
Craig McDonald was here from the
Oh, that's
Advocate, so he may report on that.
Mr. King? I guess I'm not the person that
BJ?
didn't recognize you.
Right, Craig was here and Craig had questions after, you guys voted to go into executive session that I answered about the rezoning and what next steps were. I certainly think that there needs to be some update, for lack of a better way, to those who were in attendance, the media, and also the legal counsel for the applicant, I believe, who was in attendance.
What was the gentleman's name that spoke?
Sunderland, Mr. Sunderland? is what I have.
Sunderman,
Sunderman,
Gary
that's what I have
Sunderman.
in my notes.
He didn't sign in. So we don't have a,
It's
He
on
sent
re-
us
I'll
an
contact him, I
email.
know.
I was gonna say.
Yeah,
it's
I'll
just-
contact him.
It'll be on the, recording too, we'll be able to get it.
Oh, yeah, that's right, he had
He had,
well, Mike knows him.
our form asks for a phone number or contact, how you can contact them, and so that we don't have that part.
Was there an attorney, there was an attorney here for,
Connie was.
who was?
Connie was here for that.
Connie Cleveland.
But see, Connie's not, remember the attorney from Voorhees was here at the first, so that's why I don't think Connie's necessarily.
She's representing.
She's representing somebody, as far as I know, for this.
Well, I can talk, I can contact Connie, and I can also, I'll probably get a call from the Voorhees attorney tomorrow to say what happened, so I can make that clear. And if I don't, I can reach out to Joe Miller myself and,
Connie was here for this, vote tonight.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think she represents the developer,
Yes.
so she should be, it's important to me that those people that were out there be told.
I will talk to Connie if you want me to.
I'm sure it's important.
And I can talk to Craig McDonald.
All right, anything else? Okay, we'll go around the room, start with Mr. Hicken.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to say that, congratulations to the chief on the police station. I actually had a meeting in there today about our July 4th fireworks, and, with the fire department and CERT and, the police department. And, it's wonderful. And, Mike, Compton, a special shout out to you, because I know how hard you worked, even out putting down or working on the grass seed at the end to make that day come off and be special for the officers. And I realize that in this city, that's your purview. You're the executive branch and they're under the executive branch, but it's not just one day's worth of work, there's a whole lot. And so, my thanks to you. That's it.
Mel?
I'll piggyback on that a little bit and say, it is really cool to finally see something. It's like brick and mortar, it's like there. From when we first started this whole thing and the idea and playing around with it, so, and it was really exciting to walk through there and see all the tools that you guys have. And I think I said to Gary when we were walking through there that it's nice to know that when they come in, they don't have to work to go to work. Like, they don't have to clean off a car, or they don't have to, everything is just right where they need it. And it's definitely a nice workspace. It's gotta be a huge morale booster to go into a space like that every day. So I'm really pleased with the outcome, and you guys did a phenomenal job in working with him and getting what we needed for the amount that we got it for. So I'm really pleased with the outcome of it, and hopefully that keeps us, moving along to more officers. And that it was really cool to see something finally. Between that and my trail, I've been kind of like, woohoo, floating around, get to see things actually happen. So, and obviously we all kind of, I think, echo Grace Franklin's comments about our PD and the loss of our officers, and, you know, it's not, something that we obviously haven't thought about or isn't in front of us, so. That's all.
Well, just, congratulations, Mayor, Chief. Awesome day, Saturday, exciting. You guys are excited. I'm glad it's finally up and running, and it's a good thing for the officers and for the city. So congratulations.
Mr. Barstow?
Oh, I have anything there.
Thank you. Mr. Zets?
Nothing, Mayor, thank you.
Suzanne?
Yes, I appreciated the chief bringing up the Active Fit, the triathlon, it's always a lot of fun. So that's coming up. The Story Walk, we had, what do you think, Mike, over 250, more than close to 300 people there? It was beautiful weather. The park looked wonderful. I appreciated Lanier. Like, we texted throughout the day to make, like, he went over and BJ was super helpful to make sure I had electricity for our amp that Pataskala Elementary brings. This year we had Etna Elementary artists and we had Pataskala Elementary authors, so we incorporated more kids. We had close to 50 kids involved in it, and Branham Signs, as usual. Specifically their designer, his name is Jamie Greenlee. They donate all their time to us in the Pataskala Library. It was fantastic. It's beautiful, and I encourage you, if you can get down there and walk it. It is truly a beautiful piece to the park. And when you're standing up at the hill and you look down, it is just vibrant. It's beautiful. So it was really exciting. I love that project, and I'm humbled that they let me do it every year. So it's one of those things that they'll have to rip out of my claws. I love it. It's fun to see the kids so proud of their work. With regret, I hated missing the ribbon cutting. I was on the mom rugby circuit all over northern Ohio, but it was beautiful. The coin's beautiful. So I appreciated that. And Memorial Day, do we have a time? Did I miss that? Is there anything?
10:30 at the cemetery, 11 o'clock at Veterans Green.
All right, that's green.
That's on Monday, Mike.
And finally, I missed last 2 weeks ago, I was doing the Empty Bowls thing. We raised $500 for Leeds. So it was good. That's all I have. Thank you.
A couple quick things. Oh, it's too close. Sorry. Normally too far away. I scare you down there, Timmy?
A little bit.
First, Chief and Mayor, extremely well done. I know the work you guys put into this. Just super proud that we came up with the product we have, and that you're our mayor and you're our chief. Just really, really proud of you guys. So, you should be proud. Happy for the city and the officers as well for able to have a beautiful building like that. With that being said, I think that now that the building's done, I think that Ms. Franklin raises concerns that we all know about, and I hope that as soon as possible, we can resume formulating a game plan to remedy that issue. Is that okay, Mr. Zetz? Okay. Yes. Big across the line. Okay. So I hope that those discussions resume quickly. The last thing that I will mention is just for everybody to know, myself, Mr. Hicken, BJ, and Jamie, we've got our first, not our first, but our final draft of the MOU with the schools sent to us, and we're meeting this week to review it, and we hope to start, once we kind of figure out what's exactly there, we hope to start sharing that with council for consideration. With that, move to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn? Second by Mr. Powell. Discussion? And roll.
Hicken?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Carter?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Barstow?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Meeting adjourned.
I forgot to mention, Mayor Michael flies in tonight at 11:50.
Nice.
Punk,
That's
come in and get in
nice.
the middle of the night. But, so he'll be in town for Memorial Day, he flies out the day after, so we'll be at Veterans Green.
Where is he?
Oh, he'll ask, you know what? I hope he brought it.
If he did, his mom's gonna go buy it.
I'm killing. He told me I'm coming with only a carry-on.
Yeah, yeah. Fingers crossed.
Good, 'cause I'm gonna try to get Kyle.
Yeah.